Hello, good people. Hello, welcome back to another car conversation. Um, Today, I'm going to talk about this. Is going to be our third segment of Project 2025, covering elements of Project 2025, and I want to speak directly to how gun control, or the lack thereof, is addressed in Project 2025. Since this week, we saw yet another mass shooting at a school. There was an additional school shooting in Maryland where only one student was, actually that student died, passed away yesterday. The school in Maryland, we had a school in Georgia, and then we had just yesterday a guy standing on an overpass just shooting at traffic going northbound and southbound. 7 people injured there, and this guy is still on the run. They don't even know where this person is. So we've got to talk about gun control. We've got to talk about gun control and what that's going to look like moving forward, depending upon which candidate gets in office. So Project 2025, the number one thing you need to remember about Project 2025, which 45 and JD Vance and his minions are trying to separate themselves from Project 2025. So they go and they throw out Agenda 47, which, yes, that is his agenda. Agenda 47 is his, I guess, version of his policies that's posted on his website. However, Agenda 47 is taken directly from Project 2025. There's literally no difference. There's no difference. And actually, on one of these policies, Agenda 47 goes a little further than Project 2025. So let's get into it. So, number one that you need to really be concerned about, that's in Project 2025. Well, let me just say, the agenda is when it comes to gun violence and gun control in Project 2025, the agenda for a potential future 45 administration and the Heritage Foundation, and through Project 2025, the Federalist Society, White Christian Nationalists, this is what they've come up with. Basically, what they want to do is grant the gun lobby essentially everything that they've ever asked for. That's the bottom line. Project 2025 lays out how they would grant the gun lobby exactly what they've ever asked for. So overturning state laws that ban assault weapons, meaning, for example, I'm in California. We have a ban on assault weapons. Project 2025 proposes to get rid of the ban on assault weapons in all states. All states. This is why you see more of these incidences occurring in red states, because red states do not have strict gun laws. Red flag laws, background checks, banning certain weapons, concealed carry, all those things. Red states have gone completely against that. So what they aim to do is just hand on the silver platter everything that gun lobbyists have asked for. And one of the things they've asked for is getting rid of the ban on assault weapons. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, well, any gun can kill somebody. This is true. But what is the benefit for gun lobbyists, gun manufacturers, and gun lobbyists, for them specifically to be able to sell assault weapons nationwide? Money. It's money. You're talking the average gun, let's say price range $300 to $600, $700. ARs are $1,200, $1,300. So per unit, you've got to think about the difference that these corporations would be making per gun if they were able to sell them nationwide. Okay, that's number one. They want to weaken concealed carry laws. They also want to make it easier to sell dangerous firearms, and also easier to take dangerous firearms from state to state. So if you get rid of the ban on assault weapons, right, which we have in place right now, so state of California, we have that in place. People from Texas, people from Alabama, people from Louisiana, people from Mississippi, Arkansas, wherever, in traveling, don't have to worry about leaving, this gun home. They can cross the state lines with these guns in their cars, trunks, etc., and not have them confiscated, not be arrested, none of that. If they were able to get rid of the assault weapons ban in all states. So that is the goal. Even though 64% of Americans support banning assault weapons. So here's where I inject my plug for Harris Wall's ticket. Kamala Harris has already said, and repeatedly said, has vowed to ban assault weapons. Okay? So you're looking at one ticket that is working for gun lobbyists and gun manufacturers, and you've got another ticket that wants to save lives. It wants to save children's lives. Because let's really look at it. Besides the Vegas shooting, which I believe to date was the largest mass shooting, most of these have played out in on school, college campuses, school classrooms, at schools, targeting children, targeting young people. Okay, so Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. Now this has been pushed by the NRA, and of course, through lobbying Congress, this is what they're trying to make happen. The Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, it would overturn the state laws about carrying concealed firearms and allow guns to be more accessible and basically transportable across state lines. Okay, so in Agenda 47, 45 states, this is a quote, I will sign concealed carry reciprocity. So the bill that the NRA is pushing through the Congress members that they have paid millions of dollars to, some of them, Ted Cruz, Marsha Blackburn, Josh, I think his last name is Crowley. Like, there are several that have received up to millions of dollars from the NRA and are pushing, they're the ones that vote down every bill against gun control. And they're doing that for the gun manufacturers. They are in the pocket of the gun manufacturers because of money. Okay, so 45 has stated, quote unquote, I will sign concealed carry reciprocity. Your Second Amendment, listen, your Second Amendment does not end at the state line. This is straight out of the mouth of 45. So 45 has clearly told you, I am working with the gun lobbyist. I am going to protect the NRA's money. I am going to continue the flow of cash to Congress members being bought off by gun lobbyists as well. It's basically a race to the bottom of public safety in this country. Just letting everybody have guns, no matter what type of gun, no matter what age, no matter what their mental capacity is, no matter where their brain development is, no matter what their mental health state is, no matter how many offenses and crimes they might have committed before. Let's just let everybody have guns. That is the philosophy of what is outlined here in Project 2025. So right now, the gun industry is working with Republican lawmakers to overturn all state bans on the AR style weapons. Gun rights groups are suing suing to overturn Maryland's ban on assault-style weapons, and the Supreme Court is slated to hear this case in the fall. Now, let me tell you something. What did we see happen when Roe v. Wade, the challenge of Roe v. Wade went all the way to the Supreme Court? It was overturned. And the three ultra-conservative, along with, two other conservative members of Congress, but the last three, we just have an ultra-conservative Supreme Court right now. And so when these types of things, when these types of laws and bills make it all the way to the Supreme Court, unfortunately, we have to anticipate them leaning in a right ultra-conservative way. And the ultra-conservative conversation and way of thinking about guns is basically, I have the right to have guns. That's it, period. I don't care about the repercussions. I don't want to have discussions about what type of guns. I don't want to have conversations about, whether or not they should be locked up, who in my family should be able to access them. I don't want to have conversations about where and when I can carry them. My Second Amendment says basically I can have guns. And that's really the gist of their conversation. So Agenda 47 cynically diverts its attention also, and if you remember, I talked about this in the last video, in the discrimination in the workplace. Remember how I told you there was a separate section addressing the LGBTQI community in regards to discrimination in the workplace. Well, guess what? Project 2025 also has a separate section, and also Agenda 47, a separate section where it addresses the LGBTQI community on gun control, on gun access to guns. And here's what it says. Basically, 45 is to come up with some sort of separate entity or group. They're going to get rid of the FDA, they're going to get rid of the ATF, they're going to get rid of all of the departments that we have in the federal government right now. That's another part of Project 2025, dissolving all of those departments with that's made up of 50,000 civil servants, federal employees. Get rid of all of them and replace them with loyalists. Remember, I talked about this in a previous video. So in Agenda 47, it also outlines that 45 will set up a certain task force, if you will, to investigate whether or not medications, let me get this right, medications that are medication hormonal treatments and the ideology for transgender Americans creates some sort of stress, depression, or promotes violence and aggression amongst this certain group of people. And that's why we have so much gun violence in America. Even though the number of transgender people that have committed any of these mass shootings, wait for it, it's 0.11%. 0.11%. But Agenda 47 and Project 2025 decided to put an entire section, pages, devoted to studying whether or not hormonal treatments are causing transgender people to behave in a more aggressive manner. And like I've said repeatedly, folks, I've said this repeatedly, when they come for one group, they will not stop with that one group. So it is incumbent upon all of us to stand up for those groups that are being targeted at all times, at all costs. Moving along, on page 709. Now listen to this. On page 709 of Project 2025, they propose transferring the ATF, the department that handles all of the tracking of gun violence, the tracking of illegal guns coming into the country, the tracking of all kind of dangerous firearms, etc. They propose on page 709 of Project 2025, getting rid of the ATF, of course, and shifting. So all those loyalists that will be hired, just shifting whatever the ATF has been doing and putting it under the Treasury Department. Let me tell you what will be lost. This will weaken the department and create an inability to track the sale of dangerous firearms, leading into increased gun trafficking, and make it more difficult to track gun-related crimes. Agenda 47 also proposes, it also proposes arming teachers with guns and to approve federal funding, that 45 would approve federal funding to hire trained gun owners as armed guards in schools. What could possibly happen? So we have just this week, not only in Georgia, the shooting in Georgia at the high school, Appalachia High School. And let me say this also, after that shooting occurred, there were, I think, up to about 30 other calls into law enforcement in Georgia. A lot were deemed to and found to be fake, but a lot of other threats just in the state of Georgia. But you also had incidences in Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, Iowa, Michigan, another student bringing a gun to school in Georgia and Pennsylvania, and there are other states. Now, there were not mass shootings. There were incidences where a student was stopped and questioned, or an adult, their gun fell out of their pocket when they were dropping off their kid at preschool. Then you had a kid that was riding a bike on school grounds and seen as an unusual or the behavior was suspect, and that person had to be questioned, and they found a gun on that student. Like, there were all these other incidences this past week involving guns. And need I remind you that the children in Uvalde, the victims of the Uvalde shooting, they were identified only by like tennis shoes and t-shirts that they had worn to school that day, because their bodies were so mutilated, just completely obliterated by the AR-15 that was used by that killer, by that murderer. But 45 says to you, oh, well, we'll just have to get over it. And JD Vance says to you, it's just a way of life. And honestly, at the end of the day, those two statements just translate for me as fuck them kids. We don't care about those kids. But guess what they will fight for? Guess what they will protect? We'll show up for an embryo. We'll show up for an embryo, but fuck them other kids. Vote accordingly, people. Vote accordingly. Republicans, 45, Project 2025, Agenda 47, JD Vance, however you dress it up, Heritage Foundation, Federalist Society, White Christian Nationalists, however you dress it up, whatever title they might have, they mean us harm. They have no protections in place in regards to, they have no plans in place in regards to how to protect Americans, how to protect Americans from gun violence. But what they do have in place is how to protect the money that gun manufacturers, gun lobbyists, and Republicans sitting in Congress that are voting down every single piece of legislation that would protect the American people. So all I can say to you is read Project 2025 for yourself. I say this every single episode, and vote accordingly.